Okay, good evening, everyone. Welcome to yet another exciting event, a panel discussion that is focused on one of the most burning questions that all of us face every now and then: upskilling or reskilling, and how to prioritize for the future. I'm Kiran Sharma, your host for today. So, as we navigate the ever evolving landscape of work, it's crucial to understand the difference between upskilling and reskilling. Upskilling involves enhancing current skills to keep up with the industry trends, while reskilling means learning new skills for a different role. Both are essential, but how do we prioritize? Assess the industry needs, identify skill gaps, and align them with career goals. By investing in both, we can ensure a future ready workforce, adaptable and resilient in the face of change. So, friends and fellow industry members, to gain an in depth understanding of this topic and navigate our questions together, let's welcome our esteemed panel members who will shed light on these critical aspects. So, join me in welcoming our first panel member, Kaushik Chakrabarti. Kaushik Chakrabarti is the Chief People Officer at Civilist. Kaushik, I hope I am pronouncing it right.
Yes,
Savils?
Savills, not
Okay, Savils.
Savilist.
Okay, I'm so sorry.
Savills.
Savills, right? Okay, so Savills India wing with over 2 decades of diverse corporate experience. His roles have spanned general management, HR strategy, business redesign, HR management, learning and leadership development. He's known for his global initiatives in people-centering projects and deep involvement in spiritual and social work, having led a CSR trust. He is a renowned TEDx keynote and motivational speaker, MBA trained in leadership at prestigious institution, and a distinguished Toastmaster. Named among the top 10 thinkers by MTC Global in 2014, he regularly writes for major publications. And Kaushik is also an avid traveler and trekker, especially in the Himalayas. Oh, wow. He lives in Delhi NCR with his family. Welcome, Kaushik.
Thank you.
Next, next we have Pareen Vitlani. Pareen heads training and development at Swasti since August 2021, having an overall work experience of 23 years. He's a seasoned learning and OT strategist. He had earlier worked with reputed BFSI companies in India like Suryoday, Small Finance Bank, RBL Finserv Limited, and Fino. Pareen has received several training and development awards and recognition over the years. Let's have a look at some of them. Recognized as Changemakers in ITL Awards 2024 by Software Verdict in May 2024. Recognized as a Great Indian Sales L&D Leader by Transformance Business Media held in Mumbai in September 2023. Top 20 Talent Champions by Transformance Business Media held in Mumbai in February 2023. Top 10 most impactful sales training and coaching leaders by Transformance Business Media held in Mumbai, November 2022. Top 101 most fabulous training and development leaders of India by the World HRD Congress held in Mumbai, February 2021. Preeta Mangala, our next speaker, total of 19 years of experience in the IT space, of which 8 years with business, manufacturing, and logistics from a developer to program manager. Rest of the 11 years with learning and development, collaborating with multiple practices that includes being global learning head for the AI and analytics practice at Cognizant. Now heading L&D for Indian Software, a digital engineering company. Preeta has diverse experience from designing and creating learning programs to advising businesses on the training needs. Always tries to innovate, demonstrate return on investments, and elevate learning and development to earn a place in the decision-making table. Awarded Learning Leader of the Year 2024 in L&D event conducted by QBS Forums Under 40 Trailblazers Award by Business World. She's keen to expand her knowledge through networking. So let's welcome Mangala Preeta as well as Pareen, our next
Thank you.
panelist. You most welcome, both of you. Sorry. Our
Okay,
next
Kiran.
panelist and our moderator for the day, Naina Mangotra. Naina Mangotra is an influential HR leader with over 16 years of experience in learning and development, talent management, organizational development, and HR partnering. Currently serving as the head of learning and talent management for Lenovo Asia Pacific. Naina drives transformative initiatives across 13 countries, supporting a workforce of 5,000 plus employees. She is recognized for her ability to build and deliver innovative strategies that align talent development with business goals. Her leadership expertise spans areas such as leadership coaching, sales upskilling, succession planning, and fostering a culture of diversity, equity, and inclusion. A highly sought after speaker, Nena provides valuable insights into utilizing human capital to navigate change, build resilient organizations, and achieve performance excellence. Her engaging presentations and deep knowledge make her a respected voice on topics such as organizational transformation, leadership development, and the future of work. So, with such a great panel with us, welcome, Nana. Welcome, Pareen. Welcome, Kaushik. Welcome, Preeta. We have an incredible session ahead filled with innovative ideas and forward thinking discussions. So, without further ado, I'll hand it over to our moderator, Nana Mangotra, to kick off the session. So, great to have you all online and let's enjoy this enlightening event together. Over to you, Nana.
Thank you so much, Kiran, and thank you so much for that introduction and kind words for all of us. I'll say that on behalf of the panel. Thank you for welcoming us. A big welcome to all the participants as well. We're really looking forward to having this great session and a very relevant topic on skilling, upskilling, reskilling. In today's world where everything is so dynamic, we're talking about the VUCA world that's become, and that's also becoming old, and now we're talking about the Barney world. Things are, it's more important than any time to keep upskilling and reskilling ourselves. We'll divide our conversation today with the panelists into four sections. The first section is really about understanding the workforce needs. The second would be about designing effective learning strategies. Then, talking about technology that we could use to be able to enhance our initiatives. And lastly, talking about how do we evaluate effectiveness. Like any training program, we'd follow the four segments: understanding needs, designing the strategy, looking at technology, and then evaluating effectiveness. So, with that, let me dive into the first segment for today, which is really about understanding the workforce needs and balancing between upskilling and reskilling. I'd like to pose my first question, Pareen, to you about do you look at or what are the factors that you consider when you're deciding whether to upskill or reskill employees to address evolving business needs?
Okay, am I audible?
Yes.
Okay, so thank you very much, Naina, for allowing me for this quite a wonderful topic. So, first of all, this is again a very crucial time, around 3:15, and everyone needs a coffee. But then I'm trying to keep everyone awake. The fact there are a lot of factors that come into picture. What I consider when it comes to deciding whether to upskill or reskill employee. First, I would like to say that one of the important thing is what are the current skill gaps. We need to identify the current skill gaps in the organization, and that comes from assessment of skills. Identify the specific skills the organization needs. What is the current burning issue that the organization has, or what is the business challenge right now that the current organization is going on? So we need to first assess that, and then we need to decide that who can be reskilled, who can be upskilled. And everyone knows now what is upskilling and reskilling, so I don't need to tell you again what those terminologies mean. So first is to identify what is the burning issue in the organization. Second is what is the current trend now. For example, in the industry. So I come from a microfinance background, and so I don't know if everyone knows about it or not. Microfinance industry is right now going through a rough phase. So we are actually facing this kind of a scenario wherein we need to identify employees, whether to upskill or reskill. So because the industry is going to a rough phase and we need to accommodate a lot of things with the current man force and workforce, and the targets are huge, with the quality needs to be in place. So we need to also understand, apart from identifying the needs, what we have in our culture, we also need to understand what are the industry trends, what is going on in the industry. So we need to also pace ourselves accordingly and see the trends in the industry and then accommodate those kind of trends in our organization as well. Next, what I would like to say is that understanding employee potential and job role. What is the current potential of the current workforce that we have? Is that the current workforce needs a upskill? They have that skill set. We need to upskill them by giving them some trainings internally, engaging them into different tasks so that they can upskill themselves. Or what the current workforce needs, they are capable of handling something different other than what they are handling right now. Is that to reskilling? So handling another job role. So understanding the current competency level of the employee set that we have. We also need to also see the current employee skill set career development phase as well, because at the same time we also need to see their development as well. So you need to identify the employee mass when this particular set of employee has that particular potential to if we give them upskilling or reskilling so that it helps them in their career development. Next, what I feel is what are the business strategies and objectives? I mean, we need to align ourselves as a training department. We need to align our strategy according to the business strategy and objective. We have to align the goals, the business goals with us, because it should not be that the training goals are different and the business goals are different, because it'll be a highly mismatch in the end of the year when we come with the results of the company. Uh, So also long-term and short-term needs we need to identify, because rescaling is a long-term strategic goal. Because if you are investing something on an employee by rescaling them, so it needs a lot of investment, and the ROI will also take some time to come in back to the company. Versus the upskilling is like just an additional role. So we need to identify whether this is a short-term need or a long-term need as well for the current need of the organization. And at the end, again, we need to also see the cost and the resources, because everything, whichever company you work with, there is a certain cost that is been assigned to you for the year as a training department. So we need to also see the investment that we're going to do for upskilling and reskilling. And at the end of the day, end of the year, we need to also see that there's a return on investment that comes in with a value added for the company, because training is a cost center. So we need to understand where we give back as a revenue to the organization. I think these are the important factors that I look in for the employees. I'm not able to
Right.
hear you. Yeah,
Are you able to hear me now? Yeah.
yeah.
Thank you so much, Pareen. I think great points in terms of saying that we need to balance short term and long term. Look at the ROI, look at what are the organization goals, look at industry trends, and also look at where is our workforce today. What potential do they have? What kind of skills do they have? Let me quickly check with the other two panelists, Kaushik and Preeta. Any other inputs that you'd like to share in terms of the factors to be considered?
think pretty much
I think,
Farid covered.
yeah, I think just one aspect which I believe, whenever we talk about upskilling and reskilling, I mean, it's a changing world, as we all know. There is enough uncertainty. There is enough, um, there is different filter through which people look at various initiative. Okay, so I think the right kind of communication is very important. You need to communicate well on time. There has to be some way of showing them the future. I mean, why there is a upskilling intervention happening or a reskilling and intervention happening. It has to land the right way onto people. So many a time, I think in the landing the right way onto people, is a missing point. There is a objective, there is uh, there are certain changes which probably an organization or an industry is going through. There are certain calls which has been taken in terms of a shift, and then you go through certain exercises on upskilling and reskilling. But people have to really identify and you know uh, align the organization goal to their own goal, and what is that will lead them into. That element is very important.
I think, Kaushik, I couldn't agree more in terms of the importance of communication, whether it's L&D or any other things that we do as HR professionals. Communication becomes the basis. And uh, to a certain extent, we can put a great initiative, etc. But if we don't communicate well, it can fall flat. So, with that, let me ask you the next question since you're with us. How do you address employee resistance or fear of change when you're introducing upskilling and reskilling programs?
Uh, yeah, I mean, look, there is always every human being has that fear of change, and again, the element comes in, how have we aligned the organizational objective goals to the individual's, long-term goal. I mean, what will it lead them into? That element. Again, I'll come to the again, I'll repeat the word communication, but more than that, I think the alignment part is very important. Uh, there is a lot of fear. There's a lot of uncertainty. As you mentioned, that from a VUCA world, we have moved into a bunny world. The world has seen a lot in last few years, and there is enough which is going around us. There is some bit of his reality. There's a lot of speculation with infusion of technology. So depending on what exactly is the kind of upskilling and reskilling you want to bring into the organization or onto people. So one is of course communication will be very important. I think what is very important is involving employees early into the process. You need to involve them early into the process when you have drawn out a skilling program or you have drawn out a learning journey for different levels of employees, which is very different from which is currently happening in the organization. That's what you call basically, whenever you get into a reskilling exercise, it will have a path which will or a direction which is very different from what probably that role, that level have gone through in the past. So I think early involvement of employees or the people into the process is very important. Offering a lot of support is, I mean, whether we call it coaching, whether we call it counseling, whatever is the word, but that space need to get created where there has to be an element of trust which need to be brought into the whole process. People need to trust the fact that yes, the initiatives are for us for a long-term goal, and so that the resistance to the change don't happen. But I think very important is identify the change agent within different group. There are people who are always very excited during the changing times. There are naysayers, and there are also the ones who are uh, are the what we call as the change champions. The one who uh, are into the change. They are the positive spokesperson for any such initiative. I think taking advantage of that set of people and creating more peer-to-peer communication through them is something which really helps in such scenarios. Um, and more than anything else, I think lead by example for the leadership team is very important. The management team and the leadership team also need to show that yes, it's not only there's no There's no division between them and us. In the sense, the leadership team also need to go through, because of whatever is uh, the learning journeys which has been drawn out, and whatever is the shift and change which the organization has planned out. The leaders need to lead by example, being part of certain upskilling and reskilling for themselves as well. Some example has to be seen and visible. Otherwise, the gap increases, the barrier comes up. I think that element is also very important and need to be visible.
Thank you, Kaushik. I think some really wonderful points that you called out, and I especially, would like to call out the last one that you called out, which is leading by example by the leaders. Uh, not just sponsorship and not just saying that you need to do it, but when you lead by example, you're a becoming a change agent, but or a change champion, but you're also showing that it's okay, it's not something that one needs to be afraid of, and that they kind of take out the fear of the change by leading, for example. So I don't think I could have agreed more on that one, but yes, some amazing points in terms of alignment
Can I
and
just take an
evolving.
example, a very
Sure,
relevant example which
absolutely.
I've experienced, since I mentioned about it. Um, Post GFC, I was a banker. Okay, so and I was in the foreign banking circuit, and GFC, a lot of things changed, after the global financial crisis. And I was working for one of those banks where there's a lot of change. There was merger, acquisition, global acquisition going on. There was a huge amount of change, and obviously, I was one of the change project leader, in terms of taking care of the learning and leadership for the organization. Uh, so that point of time. Uh, Other than obviously the whole change process, the change curve, a lot of free flowing town halls, everything was happening. And we started doing a workshop. In fact, I started facilitating it myself, and we called it as deep listening. Okay, and a very unusual name. And we wanted to bring in that element of deep listening within the organization. We thought that people need to listen and deeply to each other, at that point of time. And it was a nothing fancy, but it was a very, I think, 5, 6 hours kind of a workshop, but it took off very well. Now, in a very surprising way, it was for everybody else, but it was not for the leadership team. Now, it was such a success. Everybody started talking about it. And in the town halls and everywhere, the demand was that, oh, you're telling us to listen deeply. Is it really happening from the top? So, the management team, the board management team had to go through the deep listening workshop, which was meant to be, which we actually started for the junior most layer of people. Okay, so that's what happens many a times. Okay, otherwise the demand comes in and you feel, oh, there's a gap which is there. And at least here the management was progressive enough to accept and go through that workshop themselves. That yes, we need it more than anybody else probably. But that is many a times is not there in many organization, many management team. So that is a fine example of how the demand comes up and people want to be seen that yes, what you're telling us through various communication, through various workshop, reskilling, upskilling, that is visible at the top as well. They also think that that shift and change is necessary there as well.
Thank you so much, Kaushik. I think a great example. Uh, Let me ask Praveen and Preetha, any inputs from you?
No, nothing from my side.
Nothing from my side as well, I know.
So, Preetha, then let me come to you, over to you for your question. How do you identify roles or skills that are at risk of obsolescence? What steps are you taking to make your workforce future ready?
I think very apt question for the industry where I belong to. So I've been with IT for the last 20 years, and uh, and it's been years of changes, right? That's what we can say. And now probably we are in the intelligent age of advancements with artificial intelligence and related technologies. This this actually offers a lot of opportunities for us to drive innovation, productivity enhancements, and improve quality of life. What was done for 8 hours earlier can now be automated to be done within 5 minutes. So that's the intelligent age we are in. And with the stream of when you asked about the roles and skills at risk of obsolescence, right? We've also come through a stream of changes with respect to skills, what was earlier with respect to Oracle or SAP, now what is there with respect to the advancements that we saw with Pega coming in, Salesforce coming in, Snowflake coming, the cloud itself, right? Uh, Hybrid cloud, multi-cloud, now Gen AI. So a lot of changes that all of us are actually coming across, and this not only affects right the IT sector alone, the manufacturing, retail, the base sectors, and the communication with IT. So it creates an urgent need for all of us to adapt and transform the way we work, right, and interact with technology, right, and with each other. So to really succeed in this era of change, right, business definitely have to rethink on the approach, right from talent development, right, prioritize upskilling and reskilling. So that's the objective that lies in, right? Upskilling definitely on the new skills and reskilling to see if we can do a professional recycling with respect to the adjacencies, right? So in general, right, in order to future-proof our workforce, there are a couple of steps that can be taken by every organization. First of all, we'll have to establish a sustainable skill framework, right? When we say sustainable, with the workforce and the skills changing every 2 years, this definitely has to be revisited with new skills coming in and flushing out of the older skills and figuring out adjacencies to see how we can transform ourselves. And skills definitely should be meet their basic technology requirements that a role or a job architecture requires, right? With respect to competency, with respect to behaviors, capabilities, and all that. And with that said, right, after skills, what it is, you have to marry the skills to your job architecture. So with the advent of new skills, how do you marry it to your job architecture? Plays a very important role, and the direct benefits will be you understand the workforce needs and you understand the skill gaps that are existing in your organization, right? When you try doing that, and right, overall, you will try to strengthen your firm's work resilience. So that's something that has to happen, and it has to happen at least every 18 to 24 months. And finally, after marrying your skills and job architecture comes your HR process, right? How do we drive that to our associates? Definitely through communication, through leadership, where the leaders also bind this, and through HR processes, through the ecosystem of ensuring with respect to career pathing, career proofing. Nowadays, that's something that people also start talking about, right? Like how we do future proofing, it's career proofing is what we talk about. And also with respect to how we reward, recognize, provide opportunities. So when you all, when we all keep talking about advancements in technologies, right? We also have to provide that opportunity for the associates who have earned that skill to, use that skill hands-on, the job that will make them much more happy rather than just going through a process of transformation, reskilling, and upskilling as well. So I think those are a few avenues that we will also have to, give to the associates while we try to future-proof our workforce. So with all this, right, we should probably imbibe on a couple of major pointers. We have to talk to business regularly, understand what their customers want, what is in vogue, what is going to become obsolete. Because while we follow the outside world, we should also be aware of what's happening within our customers' world, right? That's the people who are at the fulcrum of what we are doing, and track adjacencies and see if we can add that to our skill framework and job architecture and our HR process. I think that's going to repeat as a life cycle, and I'm sure we will future proof and career proof our associates. So those are few points from my side, Naina.
Thank you so much, Preeta. I think totally agree in terms of the skills framework. I mean, more and more skills are becoming the bedrock of anything that we're doing, whether it's career planning, whether it's succession planning, anything that we're doing around talent. Skills are becoming the bedrock, and we're moving away from that whole experience-led decision making to skill-based decision making. So, uh, I think amazing thought in terms of having a sustainable and yet something which is married to the job architecture. The other point you made in terms of customer centricity, I think that that really to me was amazing, because if we know what our customers are looking for and not just what our industry is doing, I think we can be at the forefront. We've seen many organizations either succeed or fail when they have taken into account what the customer needs are. So thank you so much for that input. An open question to all the panelists here today. What are some of the challenges that you face balancing the immediate need for reskilling with the long-term benefits of upskilling?
Like you said in the question, right? It's immediate always for reskilling. So that itself is a challenge that most of the organization is facing. And suddenly you see that, say for example, right? I'll let you know there was one customer we had was looking for a technology called Rust. I'm not sure if people have heard, people in this call. It's a 12-year-old technology and as competent as Python. So most of people definitely would be working with Python, and there are very few developers with this programming language Rust. And our customer wanted people to be reskilled into Rust and be deployed ASAP. So that becomes a challenge. And Rust is definitely a very safe, secure, and very resilient technology that the industry has been seeing. And long-term benefits of upskilling definitely happens, right? When you think through and when you really have a thought process. So earlier in the IT world, right, we used to have separate I'm sorry, I'm taking a lot of IT examples because that's where I come from. We had a separate front-end team, we had a separate designer team, a separate back-end team who will do the coding and all that, right? Now it is full stack. Everybody needs to know everything. So that's where upskilling is actually helping people. And people at a slow pace, they have started moving from what they were comfortable with to what they have to be doing in future. So that has been happening slowly and steadily, and it's fruitful in many organizations when compared to the reskilling. Definitely, reskilling has its own challenges, what I feel.
Thank you, Preeta, for those insights. Kaushik, Parin, any further
See,
inputs?
what I feel is upskilling. She's right, actually. Upskilling is better than reskilling, because now also currently, as I said, that my industry is in a very challenging phase. We have a lot of new things introduced for our field staff. Our field staff is a pure blue collar staff, but it's like a tenth fail or a college dropout guys earning a salary of around 10,000, 12,000 rupees a month. Now they are into a very formalized system. We brought them into a formalized system called microfinance and try to make them understand the technology that we use. So now we are in a phase, we are introducing a new technology over the current technology. Now we are facing a lot of issues as of now, because they are not, they're restricting themselves. They're not coming out of the comfort zone, but then they don't know that, and this has happened in past when a lot of new policies has come in. by the RBI, which we have to follow. Once they are into that particular system, after the upscaling is done, they feel very happy and delighted. Okay. So the challenge is for us and the organization is to actually bring them in that particular level first by training them. So if I give you an example, earlier it was like we just had an application to collect the money from the customers. So just entry has to be done in the mobile device and it's done and the receipts have been given. Now we have something called as facial devices, wherein the customer has to log in with their face device, facial recognition, and then they have a lot of reports that the customer themselves can see. They don't need a person, so they have to train the customer how to use that particular system. So now they say, अरे हम कैसे जाएंगे, हम कैसे करेंगे, हाँ ये हमारा काम नहीं है. But now we have done the training, they made them understood how it is, and now gradually they are trying to getting customer involved in that technology, and now they are feeling happy. नहीं हमारा काम कम हो रहा है, हमको ज्यादा समझाने का जरूरत नहीं है. So upskilling is always beneficial over reskilling, what I feel. Because reskilling is again a lot of we need to understand the expertise of the particular person. कि क्या वो कर पाएगा, number one. Number two, there is a cost involvement. So there are a lot of challenges. But I think upskilling is like we know that ये कर पाएगा, but वो जो barrier है, we have to just break that barrier and get him into.
Thank you so much. Kaushik?
Uh, Look, I think I always feel that unless and until the example that Pritha has given, which is shifting to a new technology or which is very different for the same purpose, obviously it calls for a reskilling, and the impact, the resistance, everything is immediate, as you mentioned. But the more you are able to, at least that's what uh, I have tried, and it may not be the right approach, which is trying to position any skilling exercise, even if it has an element of reskilling, as upskilling, because that has more embracement, that has more acceptance. Okay, rather than trying to get into. I mean, if it's not a technology side, I mean, mostly these days, of course, it's not technology, but a diagonally different shift can have a larger implication. But few of the elements which need to be taken into account is as Pareen mentioned, about blue collared employees. Then there are various generation of employees. So the learning styles are also very different. Okay, so whatever you are bringing in as for reskilling, you know, I mean, if a person is say in his late 50s, not very technologically savvy in a blue collared job, so technology as the media of training him to reskill may not work, or a upskill may not work. Okay, I mean, whatever is the, so I think some of those elements are also very important, the learning style, so that if you want to create some immediate impact through reskilling and all, ensure that the intervention chosen is the right one for the right audience. I think that part is very, very important. That's my
I
two
think
cents.
loved your 2 cents, Kaushik, especially in terms of saying how can we embed reskilling as within an upskilling program. So I think wonderful insight that I think we can all use when we are designing our programs. With that, let me move on to the next segment. We've understood what are the workforce needs, how are we going to be balancing upskilling and reskilling. Let's look at how do we design effective learning strategies for the future. So maybe I can start with you, Preeta. How do you design learning programs that cater to both upskilling and reskilling in a scalable and yet cost-effective manner?
Thanks, Nina. I think let me start with this way, right? We should encourage continuous learning mindset for this, both with the leaders as well as within the workforce. Um, because nowadays, if you see, right, all of us don't use the term training because it's not just a one-time done activity, right? It's almost a lifelong activity that we as employees do as long as we are with the company or even outside our service as well. So whether it's upskilling or reskilling, right? Whether if it has to be in a cost effective manner, we should definitely start identifying, working with the leadership, the goals, start laying out an outline, a pathway to achieve the business goals. So, aligned to the business goals, we can start building those programs which are definitely at gaps, right? Which might be an upskilling or a reskilling. And um, try probably making adjustments along the way, but initially build a pilot program, use early adopters, help a small batch of people understand the benefits, give a choice for people to participate, highlighting the benefits, and track success and report the success as well. What we often fail to do is sharing the success story of a particular program is something most of us forget to do. So we put our efforts, heart and soul into a program. We create it, we like curate, create whatever we do, and we make the associates attend, and the associates get enlightened. But what we do is we don't spread that success to the rest of the org. So whatever is done in a smaller scale, right, has to be spread out so that it earns the place for the particular associate, for the rest of the employees to be obtained as a cross skilling or a reskilling or an upskilling activity, and it should be earned. So that is something that we should start working towards. And if we do it as small pods or pockets or pilots, right, I think that would really help to build it in a scalable manner. And definitely the success will earn the participation. And um, first, and like above all, right, the leaders should let go of their misconception about training, right? So that definitely should happen so that the learning continues and it becomes scalable and cost effective. With most parts, we find delivery becoming much more important, right, when compared to upskilling or reskilling. Almost in every industry, time is money, right? We are all involved in work, our daily activities, day-to-day activities, which takes precedence, which take priority when compared to the learning that we have to implement that particular activity. So while we take that as a precedence, right, the leaders should instill this into the employees that, hey, to do this effectively, this is needed. So let's spend some time on this as well. So if that mentality comes, then definitely we will be able to design programs in a small pods which can become scalable and become cost effective. As we do it in small pods, we'll be able to make adjustments, corrections as we scale it up for the entire org. So that's my 2 cents. I know.
Thank you. I think it's it's a trend right now that everything is becoming smaller. Our attention spans are becoming shorter. We've moved from watching movies to watching reels, which is again smaller. I think what I hear you saying is that that same thing has to be incorporated in our learning, where we can make smaller modules, smaller pods, and that's what would make it scalable. So thank you so much for that, Peter. Uh, Let me move on to Parin. Parin, what strategies do you use to ensure that L&D initiatives align with the broader organization goals?
Okay. So what I have learned in my L&D career is one is that we need to be aligned with the organizational goals because L&D has to go hand in hand with the flow of the organization. So first, what I think is we have to link the learning and development objective with the business strategy. Okay. First, understand deeply the organizational goals and then create the strategies of the L&D. So, in my organization currently, we have a different goal right now in this particular financial year versus the last year. The last year, we actually were ramping up big time. The industry was amazingly well. We did a 1,000 crore business last year, and this year we are stagnant at additional 200 crore only. But then now we are just sustaining our business because, as I told you, that my microfinance is right now in a challenging term. But then right now we have to survive with whatever customer that we have, good portfolio that we have. So again, so what I'm saying is the shift of the strategy the business had. So training also needs to be also having a shift in that similar way. So last time we had a lot of newcomers coming in. We had trained a lot of employees, newcomers. Here we don't have newcomers so much. We have to train the existing lot and curate what they need to do as per the strategies that we have, and we need to actually survive and ensure our profits are at the same profits are maintained at the same time, the quality of the portfolio at the same time, and also we don't lose business. And so that's first we have to match with the organization goal, number one. Number two, what I feel is we need to also get in touch with or be in touch with the leadership and the middle management, the HODs level in a regular interval, and try to show them or showcase them what we are doing as an L&D department, and try to ensure that we are mingling around with them, what we are in sync with their strategies or not. Because again, as I said, they might change their strategies as and when they require, as the year progresses, and we need to also modify or tweak our processes, our way of working according to their requirements. So we need to also be in touch with them on regular basis, on regular interval, and try to say, hey, this is the way that we are working at, or do you need any change right now, or do you need to pace down or pace up our processes, or the type of training or type of module delivery kind of a thing. So it's very important to try to connect with them on regular basis. Second is like what I do is that do a training need analysis on identifying the gaps of the current skill level of the employees and see whether they are up to the mark to what the organization needs are right now. So a detailed TNA is has to be on priority basis on the areas of training that we are planning. Um, we also take a lot of feedback in our trainings, be it our basic training or our refresher training, so any kind of a training that we do. So we collect a lot of important feedbacks, or we also do focus group discussion. We get a lot of feedback from them, that what are the scenarios, what are the challenges they are facing on the ground level, and try to bring them to the management and show them, hey, this is the kind of problem that they are facing, and let's try to hit those kind of problems so that their life is easy. At least they can work with us and try to avoid the challenges right now we are going as an industry. In continuation of that particular activities and the feedback that we receive, we have to make tailor-made programs. We have to also make tailor-made programs, try to customize them as per the requirement. We have, and the beauty of microfinance businesses, there are issues region-wise. Okay, so in my company, we are working with in 9 different regions, and we have regional training managers that are placed everywhere. So I come up, when I meet my trainers and I meet and as a review meeting, my Hyderabad, my Tamil Nadu trainer comes up with a different issue. यहाँ पर ये प्रॉब्लम चल रहा है, इसको ये अटैक करना है, हमको किस तरीके से अटैक करना है, वी हैव टू प्लेस अ टेलर मेड ट्रेनिंग कंटेंट देयर. माय गुजरात ट्रेनर कम्स इन, सर यहाँ पर ये प्रॉब्लम चल रहा है, which is not relevant to Tamil Nadu. Tamil Nadu in that particular scenario they're doing very nicely, but the Gujarat is not doing that. So we have so much of training content specifically to be designed for hitting some specific issues that is happening everywhere. So this also helps, making tailor-made programs or customized programs for them. We also, in our training programs, try to make a lot of interaction with the field employees in the training, so that we get real world scenarios. Like, what we have a lot of group discussion. We have a lot of role plays, wherein we understand what is the ground heat. We understand where the pain points are, and then we hit on those kind of challenges by developing specified content on that. Uh, we also have to use a technology, we are not a company who believe, or right now at a stage where we use a very fancy technology, but we use very basic LMS. So we have Moodle in onboarded, which is a freeware coming from Google. So we have onboarded everyone, all 2,000 plus employees on Moodle. So we use Moodle very effectively, wherein to spread out scalable learning, wherein we whether it is a bit-sized learning or short modules or videos that has come up from the government or from the RBI or MFIN. We have microfinance institution network or regulator bodies who generate a lot of videos. So we have a lot of blended content that we need to spread out on regular basis to show them and educate them on a very fast and a rapid pace, which face-to-face training will not. No? And one thing, what Kaushik also involved, that we need to get our executive leadership program, leadership employees also, or leadership team also to regularly get in touch with our employees in the training department and make them understand that hey, you are aligned with us. You know, we wanted this, and you are on track, so that we get morale boost, and we do a lot of good job, and they don't get demotivated because as I told you that last year what we were doing and now we are doing is completely different. So regular leadership intervention also is very important to us. Hey, that you're doing a very satisfying job. You are satisfying the need of the hour right now. Okay. So I think these are, and also lastly, what I feel is again, not only the ground level force, we also need the mid level management and leadership role to undergo a lot of training program like strategic thinking, skill level development program for them to enhance their capacity as well. So that to understand what is the need of the hour, what is the industry going through. So this also brings a lot of content for us to drive down at the bottom level. I think these kind of initiatives by L&D are very fruitful in these challenging times for us.
I think amazing insights, Parin, especially in terms of immerse yourself into the business, understand what's different for the business at this point of time. Not using a cookie cutter approach, you said you need to customize, make tailor-make programs. Everywhere, as we're looking around the world, people are looking at not being a part of the herd, but standing out and having tailor-made programs customized for their specific needs becomes so much important. I think that's really insightful. Keeping in touch. You said you need to keep in touch with leaders, have programs for them, but also get inputs. So I think, yeah, thank you so much for that insight.
One point, if I can add just by one very
Yes,
important
please.
point is that we also in the tailor-made program scenario, I also ensure that all my trainers are all the local trainers who are born and brought up over there. So Tamil Nadu guy is born and brought up in Tamil Nadu. Rajasthan guy is born and brought up in Rajasthan. So he speaks that language. He know the geography, and all the content that we make on the at the head office level are then translated into regional languages so that all the employees, as I said, my employee, but out of 2,000 employee workforce, 1,450 employees are blue collar employees. They don't understand hi-fi English. So I need to convert that content into regional language and make them understand very simpler living. And it directly goes into their heart. Be it a
Yeah.
foundation training or refresher training or a soft skill training, anything, we have to, mile down the content in the regional language. And the regional level, the regional trainer speaks to them in the regional language as well.
I think being able to connect, build that connect, right, is what you're really calling out, whether it's in terms of using local trainers or getting examples that are relevant for them during the training. I think that connect is really what you're really calling out. I think, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
Let
thanks.
me move on to Kaushik. Kaushik, you did bring up the multi-generational workforce that we have at this point of time in all our industries. So, how do you tailor programs to meet the diverse needs of these multiple generations that are working in the industry to prioritize while prioritizing the future?
Um, Look, one of the key pillars of our DNI, uh, uh, DNI objectives and DNI uh, uh, paper that we have is on age. Age is one of our key, which basically means that we take pride in the fact that we have four generations under one roof at least. So any meeting, ideally, that has to be visible. So that communication is always there, and we as an organization, we want to be seen catering to different generation. So, few elements. One is understanding the distinct learning styles and motivations, because different people have gets motivated by different kinds of intervention. There can be traditional methodologies, and there can be like classroom and because there's a lot of emphasis these days on technology. Personalize the learning experience as far as possible. Uh, Third is what we call as which I mentioned earlier also, create opportunities for peer learning and cross generational collaboration. Finally, what I call as prioritize future focused skills. Okay, so I think these are elements which are important. But more than anything else, I think the biggest way to do away with any such barriers is to remember and uh, allow it to grow in the organization, which is the fact that a winning culture. Now we talk about, every organization talks about culture these days. A winning culture is a learning culture. Okay, if you have the right kind of learning culture within an organization, that's what creates a winning culture. Within an organization where people feel that you know learning is even someone who is at uh, a Gen X or plus generation, they also feel that yes, a um, long-term learning intervention is valued within the organization. There is a constant process of learning. Learning is something which is prioritized, and it comes out in a very subtle way. My learning style, I can adapt. I have the choice of choosing, the styles that I am more comfortable with. There are all kinds of, I'm not, pushed into getting into a program or into a process of uh, adapting a particular way of learning, to gain a particular knowledge. I mean, there are the choice which is available, and more than anything else, that I see a value, because in this organization there is a value being given to a process of constant learning or constant reskilling or upskilling. That has to be visible within the firm, and in a very subtle way it actually comes out. Okay, for example, um, whether we like it or not, one of the key, say, uh, area of development, or I'm talking of from the behavioral side. I'm a HR person, very non-technical, so always think in those lines. Say communication. Okay, and in India, whether it is uh, presentation skills, communications, these are all areas which is there as a gap. uh, in predominantly technology firm, the leaders grow up, they are highly skilled in the technology side. But slowly and steadily, they get into a space where they need to interact with, various kinds of stakeholders. They need to get business, and slowly and steadily, what comes as a gap, and it's a generic skill gap everywhere, which is communication, and primarily presentation skills, verbal communication, business communication, elements like that. Now, I have seen firm, for example, somebody, I mean, in my introduction, you had mentioned, though I'm not fully involved anymore, but I've had my Toastmasters journey, for example, which creates, they say they create communicators and leaders. And I don't want to get into the details of Toastmasters, but the point is, I have seen, because in Toastmaster, as you give speeches, you get some certificates. Now, many of the well-known IT firms, for example, Infosys of the world, uh, TCS, they give special recognition to people who have got certain certification from Toastmaster. They can write it in their uh, performance management. They can write it in their, it is given special weightage uh, in their promotion. There are various, I mean, I don't know the details of it, but I remember that a lot of people used to come and join those clubs. There hardly any money which is involved, but primarily to develop their communication skills. And they know that in a very subtle way, the organization is recognizing the fact that I'm going beyond my call of duty to develop a skill set which is important for me. I'm just giving a very simple, simplistic example. How in a very subtle way you are actually communicating that yes, learning is important. We are creating a learning culture and we recognize it beyond your immediate deliverable, beyond your uh, age, designation, or whatever it is. For example, in Coca-Cola, like in Coke, in Toastmaster, I've seen right from the CEO to a junior engineers to come in because they had created a culture globally where they want people to be good communicators. And Toastmaster is one of the this thing that they found out as a channel. I'm just giving an example, okay, how it percolates down across organization, across countries many a times, when it comes to certain communication, certain learning intervention, and certain way of creating a learning culture which affects all generations within an organization. I would like to also pause here and I'll have to step out because it's 4:05 and I have something waiting. I mean, I have a commitment at 4 o'clock. I'm sorry for this.
Let me move on to the next question for both of you on our panel today. What role does continuous learning play in bridging the gap between upskilling and reskilling? Kaushik, right before he left, talked about building a learning culture. So, what role does continuous learning play?
Um, According to me, it is utmost important because as I gave you in my example before that, there are a lot of changes that are coming technology wise, process wise, because there is nothing stagnant. I mean, I don't know about other companies, but I mean, in our company, we have our internal IT team. They are in constant efforts in making a lot of process changes, which is minimizing human efforts. The learnings will never end because they're not tired of inventing new things. They want to invent new things and give it to the people so that their lives are very simple, and the person at the ground level has to accommodate accordingly. And I think he has to learn if they want to sustain in the organization and in the industry or in the entire globe. Because even I personally, if I say I'm into learning and development space from last 19 years now, but then earlier it was only PowerPoint presentations. Now we have so many aids. We have to learn now. When I came to this organization, I never used a technology called Vimeo. I think Preetha might be aware about what Vimeo is. So even for me, it was like something very new 4 years back, 3.5 years back, and now I myself, my team started learning because my CTO came and said, "Boss, we need to record videos on simulation videos on Vimeo and then show it to the employees, bit-sized learning, and then throw it to them, and they can learn in next 5 minutes, 7 minutes, everywhere it is spread." So now it's a habit for us. Now we do day in day out. So learning is important not only for the bottom level employee, right in the leadership employee. So I think continuous learning is the thing to survive right now. But yeah, Preetha,
Yeah.
your thoughts.
Yeah, I think with what Parin mentioned, right? With technology at its boom, continuous learning is required so that you can be in the now. Otherwise, you will also become extinct or obsolete, right? As it's a boom that we are experiencing. And rightly said by Parin, it's not only for the employees, it's for us HR, L&D professionals also to be, to stay put with technology uh, so that we are able to cater to the learning needs, learning styles of our employees as well. So that's essential.
So yeah, either we learn and upskill and adapt, or we become redundant. That's really where it is, and that's the importance of continuous learning. Let me move on to the next segment, which is about how do we leverage technology. And Preeta, let me ask you, uh, what role do digital learning platforms and tools play in upskilling and reskilling initiatives?
Definitely, digital learning platforms are mode of encouragement, I would say, for people who people like us who are encouraging associates to reskill, upskill, cross skill, right? Nowadays, you would see a lot of platforms available as well. So we started with what was called as a LMS, right? And then now, then we had learning experience platforms, and now most of the learning is curated or carved out by Gen AI, right? It's all AI led learning. So that's how we have been evolving as well. So with the evolution the technology is having, the digital learning platform is a vital step that every company has to invest in. And the best platform should not only provide quality content, right? It should also align with the organizational goals. It should meet the diverse needs of our employees. When I say needs, it's not only the learning needs, right? It's the style, it's the way they would want to. So initially we had only platforms which we could access through laptops. Then came those that can be accessed over mobiles. Then it came as apps, right? Now those are now coming as notifications, reels. So now if you see a lot of content providers help you create reels, learning reels. In fact, we have created a couple of learning reels within our own company as well. Those that actually can catch the attention of people who are used to Instagram, right? YouTube Shorts, Instagram, so that at least through reels will you will be able to capture that 5 minutes attention, so that we can impart something or put something into the needs of employees. So the platform versatility, AI-driven learning parts, those definitely are required. If not for AI-driven learning paths, right? Make sure that it is accessible. It is it is made with a content that is alluring for the associates to go and look at it, right? It's interesting for people to look at it, and make sure your user experience and engagement is at the top, and keep encouraging associates, keep striking the thought that, hey, you have to go to this platform, look at it. Have you heard about it? Have you looked at it? So those nudges are required. Even if you have the best platform with your company, I mean, you might be having a success factors, Workday or whatever, but whatever is there inside, right? Only if you keep nudging our associates amongst their delivery and work and whatever, right? They would be able to go and look at it. And definitely scalability, analytics, gamification in terms of badges, in terms of recognitions, rewards, publishing, what you've done so far. Hey, the leaderboards, right? Those might be old school thoughts, but definitely even we get happy to see our name somewhere top 3 or 5 in the leaderboard. So that's always that, though it is old school, it comes along with us from the school, and it's there, it lies with us even now. So I mean, those are few things definitely we need to make sure a learning platform has, Naina.
Amazing. I think scalability, cost effectiveness, the fact that you talk about, learning styles, platforms really help in ensuring that their diverse workforce their needs can be addressed. Uh, Parin, a question to you. What technologies or emerging technologies do you see shaping the future workforce?
I think actually this question should be to Preeta again because she is into technologies. But then I will try as much as I have a bit of knowledge. So what I feel is current, and I mean, first to start with, there are a lot of technologies now, as Preeta mentioned, but then sadly, we as an organization are not adopting it because, as I said, that 80% of the workforce are blue collar workforce. We have limitation to technologies because the understanding level is like something different as the workforce that Preeta has in her organization maybe. But the shining things right now are AI, what I feel, and machine learnings. What I feel is that is in the air, and it analyzes the data. It has a lot of research. It also measures the skill set levels, learning preferences, everything. So it also has the capture the learning experiences. So it has a lot of things to, and it's all real time again. So I think because and also we have something called a chatbot. Chatbots is also when a person enters something and you get immediate response and he's satisfied. So instant solutions are also there. Apart from personalized learning from AI, the traditional methodology, which I believe personally is LMS. Again, there are a lot of LMSs, like Nita mentioned, in the air, fancy LMSs also, but then we are into Moodle, and I believe apart from LMS, a simultaneous approach that we have in analyzing a lot of data is Power BI right now for us. So we use Power BI, and as a training department, also there's a lot of data that comes out for us as a learning. That where we are lacking, where we need to focus more on. There are a lot of data-driven insights given to us from LMS to Power BI. We extracted data from LMS, put it in the Power BI, and we get a lot of outcomes. We also, in our smaller organization like us, also we also tap man hours of the trainers. Now, how many trainings does a trainer does? How many hours he has spent in the classroom? How many hours he has gone in the field addressing and helping people? So there are a lot of technical tools that help us nowadays. Apart from that, again, that Peter also mentioned that it's very efficient and acceptable is mobile learning. What I feel is that it's a micro learning or a bit-sized learning. What do you say? As you also in your introductory session that said adult are like having a lot of less focus now. Attention span is very less. So mobile learning here plays a very critical role. It again depends how you use mobile learning. You know, if you push a notification of a 35-minute video, you will see a lot of people will not see only first 2 minutes and then switch it off. But then, if you say a reel or a short video, so when we create a video on Vimeo, as I said, it's a 3 minute video or a 4 minute video capturing highlighted points what we need to address. So people on the go quickly will have a swipe over it and say, "Hello, wow, ये सीखने मिला, ये अच्छा है." So we also that's micro learning or learning on the go. What I feel. We push a lot of videos from Moodle and also from Vimeos that we're adopting here in our organization along with LMS. Next, again, very fancy for us, like what again Peter mentioned about leaderboards is gamification. Again, you need to have that kind of a crowd who can understand the gamifications and try to compete within the organization. This is a healthy competition. We can create a healthy competition by creating games, showing them games. India, I've seen a lot of gamification guys who comes to me and said, "Hey, India is famous for Bollywood and cricket, and they have created a lot of games on cricket, wherein Indians are more attracted or leaned into." So, but I feel we are little early for those kind of support. But then they've created wonderful games to come everyone on the leadership board. And I'm sure Preeta correctly said that everyone likes to be on the leaderboard and see like, "Hey, मेरा नाम है." Even the father can go to the son in the house and say, "मेरे daddy का नाम ऊपर आया है." So it's like people like gamification, but then we are a little far off to personally say because and gamification again it's also giving an engagement, it also has learning, it also has motivation, and it also has real-time assessment because gamification will give you instant results. Hey, you have gone wrong. So I think these are the technical factors that can be a game changer also in next 1 to 3 years.
Sure. Um, uh, you touched a little bit about AI and data. So let me ask Preeta. Preeta, how do you leverage AI and data to identify skill gaps and create personalized learning paths?
So far, we've not used AI, I would say, but for now, with the data itself, right, we are able to see a good amount of information. Like I said, we use Excel or Power BI reporting to figure out the skill gaps that our associate have. First of all, sorry, I'm hearing a lot of noise. Okay. So yeah, so apart from from our side, whatever we have as a challenge or for our identifying the future workforce, right? I think I think your question was more from an emerging technology that the future workforce upskilling or reskilling has, right? For us to identify and cope with the technology names and shape the future workforce itself is a task, right? We from L&D, whether we are technically capable or not capable, we should know and understand the language that each of our industry is talking, be it a retail or banking or a healthcare sector, right? A lot of new laws coming out from a healthcare perspective, right? With AI coming in, the AI governance, ethics, responsible AI, how do you use things responsibly? So a lot of stuff for us also to learn, rather than the future workforce to learn, right? And with the data that we get and with the amount of learning that we have, I think we are barely trying to manage this era of new skills and all. So yes, I think we should try to balance so that we are on top, so that we are able to nudge the workforce for the upskilling and reskilling is what I felt more apt, Naina.
Thank you so much. I think Peter really well said. Just let me take that a little further to what you've said. We've been talking about technology and we've been saying that, it's really helpful. You said scalable, et cetera, et cetera. Now, how do you balance the use of technology and all the benefits that it has while maintaining the human-centric approach to learning?
So with the technology coming in, right, we can never say that the human centricity is going, right? If we are not able to think in a perspective, we will not be able to do in the same perspective. I think still the thinking part is done by all of us as professionals, and we're only using technology as a leeway or a lever to progress further. That's how I would say. Because in any of the areas, right? If you even consider an LMS or an LXP, right? If you have to build an LMS LXP to ensure that an associate is using that, the thought process, the requirements, all of that would have been from all of us because we know what is required by our associates and what will excite our associates, what is it that a business needs, right? What is the final metrics that our business wants to see on the board, and we will curate our LMS or LXP to ensure that we get all those data finally so that we can show it on the metrics. So that is our thought process. So I would say the human touch is always there, and what works is only technology. So we can never match the human touch and technology at any point of time. And I sometimes I even feel it overwhelming to hear people saying that, hey, can robo replace humans? Of course, no. I would say it can never happen. It can only help us automate, accelerate our work, but we definitely are the best production by God when compared to what robots are. Because ultimately they are something that we have been producing, right? Not God. That's what I feel.
Thank you so much. With that, let us move on to the next section and the final section, which is in terms of measuring success and ensuring sustainability. Parin, let me come to you and ask you, how do you adapt your learning programs based on feedback and measurable outcomes to improve future initiatives?
Okay. So this is a little tricky one for every L&D specialist because majority of the times, if you see, a lot of L&D specialists goes and develop the content, deliver the content, feedbacks. There is, I mean, everyone is happy. But then the real thing is the feedback and how to improvise yourself and how to measure. the learnings are effective or not on the ground level. So this is again a big challenge for us as well. But then we try and intervene in one's life after the training, also during the training. Also, I'll explain you one by one. There's a lot of process that is involved that is pretty working. I'll tell you on also how it is helping our organization. I will give you my organization specific examples only. Okay, what I'm trying with my team, and it's working very nicely. Number one is generic thing which everyone does is the pre and the post training service or the assessments. Okay, we hire an employee for a specific loan purpose, loan giving purpose. There are a lot of varieties of loans that we distribute. So we need to also see that whether how much knowledge does he have before entering the training module. So we do a pre-training assessment with them. We wanted them to score a zero. Okay, so we want them to score a zero. We don't want them to be exemplary over there. So if there's a 50-mark question, they should score a one or a two or three. I'm very happy about it. Then when you go after the training and give them the same paper, they will score a 48, 47, 46, 45 out of 50. So that gives an immense satisfaction to us that, hey, this was the learning, this was the empty glass, and we have filled in the data. And now he's up and ready with the entire content in his head. Number one. Number two, we also do in-session feedbacks also. So we have modules. So we have also done a mid-module assessments and feedback. So we do a temperature check in between the modules. We don't run away to a 5-day training content and take an assessment and a feedback on a 5th day. We actually go, we do 3 assessments in a day per day and take feedbacks on how it is going. So that on regular basis, we as a trainer are satisfied that whatever learnings that we are delivering are going in their head. So we do a mid assessment, we do a mid feedback so that to understand the temperature check. This was about taking the real time feedback. Next is what I feel is again we do a lot of analysis on the results that we get. So whatever assessment result that we get, we work on them and we try to understand what are the challenges that they're facing in the training program. What are the things that we need to improvise in the future programs. So after the training program gets over, we have started a latest initiative, which is back from 6 months, and which is helping us not only in improvising or improving the process, but we also helping us to reduce attrition. Because attrition is again another a big issue in our industry. Our industry, an average attrition is 50%. 50% of the employees are churned, are leaving the organization and going to other organizations. We have to hire 50% of new employees. So, in order to attack this kind of issues, what we have done is we have started interacting with the employees post training. So, after once the training is completed, there's a 5-day in-class training module. After the 5th day, we count 15th day, 30 day, 45 day, 60 day, and 90 day. So on these regular days of interval, we have a dedicated questionnaires that we have set for the trainer. We call them, we do a cold call, and we check what we run this particular questionnaire in a random order and try to interact with the person and try to understand the learnings that he has. Is he able to graduate in a way that organization needs or the business needs, or there are challenge. There might be a lot of challenges which my trainer will address in that point in that particular call and kill that particular issue. There might be also other soft aspects also in that. Maybe they're not able to understand what their boss is doing. The boss, they don't understand the target. There are a lot of other issues, late night working. There are a lot of HR involvements also. So those kind of interactions also help us in people not getting dissatisfied. We immediately attack those issue and try to resolve that issue. So in these regular intervals, at the end of 90th day, me and the business head are comfortable with the particular in the system. If he has given a target of 30 loans a month, he's doing a 30 loans a month. And he's not leaving the organization without our consent because Earlier, what used to happen is that in the exit formalities only we come to know what is the issue that he's facing and he's leaving. But here in the regular interval that we are talking, we get a regular feedback and we try to involve the other department where the issue lies and try to resolve that issue. This also impacts on their learnings because we make a lot of efforts in giving them a lot of assessments, feedbacks, role plays, and whatnot in those 5 days of training. But then that gets dissolved if they don't get an atmosphere of support. Okay. So we also assess those in the cold calling facility. And that's working. So in our organization, it was 6 months back. The attrition was at 9%. Now it is at 5%. I've given this proven fact and then matrix to my board as well, and they are very happy about it. This is working. Number two, we also can gauge their learnings in their KPIs at the end of the year when they achieve their goals, their increments. So we understand that the learnings are working fine with them. They're also learning for us that there is a particular area wherein they are not able to perform. So we have to focus more on that particular trainer. The trainer needs to understand more and dive deeply in the content and try to make them understand. And the last is the ROI. Again, the final thing comes is like one is the ROI, is that how the person is giving us back as ROI. Is that particular branch or that particular employee is giving us the profitability back that we are desiring? And if at the end of the year he is giving us the desirable support, we are understanding that the training is doing well. So these are the regular interval right from the pre-training form to a ROI calculation. So these are the steps that we follow to gauge how an employee is doing and how the training has been effective.
Thank you so much, Perrin. I believe we are out of time. Kiran, let me hand over to you.
No, it's okay. I believe let's proceed with Preeta's question as well and then close.
Sure. All right. Thank you. Preeta, then coming to you, we talked about feedback. We talked about the feedback loop and how do we incorporate that. What strategies do you use to sustain a culture of continuous learning and development in your organization?
I think this is something that we started off with, right? If we have to build a continuous learning culture, which is very essential for organizations, industries, right? To be up to date, to not be redundant. Definitely, I think um, a strong culture that empowers employees to develop new skills, adapt to the age, contribute to organizational growth. All this is there. And when we enable an environment which encourages them, right, and which is accessible, I think companies can attract, retain top talent. They can stay competitive, they can drive long-term success as well, and eventually create that as a culture with the focused buy-in from the leadership. And definitely, since this is done along with their work, um, for the associates, right? It should be incentivized, it should be made flexible, and people should be given mentorship opportunities. Today, we forget something that I'm not sure when I started my career, right? I've always mentioned this while I work. I've seen or I've grown seeing people, right? Looking at my leaders, how they perform, how they react. We have seen and learned, right? After the pandemic, most of us have remained hybrid or even remote. So the seeing and learning part has lost. Definitely, I would say here we have lost the human touch, where we've lost the empathy. We've lost what is happening with this person. More than why this work is not getting done. So I would say. First and foremost, we should have leadership buy-in and role modeling done by the leadership team, where they should start committing themselves, actively participate, in all such learning initiatives that the organization is hosting. And secondly, we should incentivize and make it flexible for employees, right? Rather than going with a stick model, right? Try to see if we can incentivize, recognize certifications can be cost borne. We can probably do a sponsorship for leadership programs where companies can sponsor for the employees. Flexible options, including like self-paced, online, virtual learning, where people are bound by the time and material model of work, right? And make things accessible and appealing for the employees. And finally, right, like I said, start the continuous learning can only continue if there is a mentorship program that happens, right? Or if there is a learning group, or I would say a close group of people who completed their learnings, right? Probably they can form themselves as a group, or they can assign a mentor, and they can keep sharing knowledge. That is more important. Sharing best practices, sharing knowledge, ensuring that the group is alive and the learning continues, probably by pairing them with mentors or peer pairing. I think that's the collaborative environment we should start building, and continuous learning will happen only in such an environment where even after our enablement session or a learning program, or which happens for 10 days, 15 days, 6 months, it will lose its touch if you're not having that group discussion or group sharing and practicing. So that's something we should start encouraging as we go further. That's my thought.
Really resonates with me in terms of building social learning. We're all social, human beings are really social. And so, how do we build that culture where employees are able to continue their learning journey beyond the formal learning walls and continue it as a social requirement? I think that really resonates with me. Thank you so much. Kiran, let me hand over to you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Nena. It was really wonderful having you moderate the session. It was really nice. So I believe it was a wonderful session for all of us here, and we all are having great takeaways as to what works the best, reskilling, upskilling. I'm sure it's always the need of the hour that takes precedence, reskilling or upskilling. But I am sure over here people are taking ahead things as to how and what to implement in their respective organizations. So due to shortage of time, I'm really sorry we are unable to take Q&A right away, as we are already above time limit. But thank you so much. Thanks, Mangala. I'm sorry. Thanks, Preeta. Thanks, Pareen. Thanks, Naina.
Pleasure.
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot. Bye bye. Thanks everyone
Yeah,
for
thank you
joining
so
in.
much.
Thank
It was
you.
wonderful.
Thank you all.